Sleep more than 3 hours, even by 1 minute, and it's divorce.
One day, our protagonist, Emily, was shocked and horrified by her husband's sudden change. The man she thought was kind turned out to be utterly unreasonable. He was the worst kind of husband. She decided to get a divorce, but not before getting her revenge. Emily followed his ridiculous command to sleep only 3 hours and continue with the housework. When the divorce mediation ended, she felt liberated, thinking, I can finally sleep. But she was too excited to actually sleep. It was still early, and until she felt sleepy, she decided to share the story of her divorce drama on an online forum. Congrats on finishing the mediation. If you want to talk about it, we're here.
What's with sleeping being the first thing on your mind after a divorce? Is divorce mediation really that stressful?
No, divorce mediation wasn't that hectic. Well, it did get a bit messy, but living with my husband was seriously tough. He would say things like, since you're my wife, don't sleep more than 3 hours, as if I were some kind of robot or Napoleon. What do you mean?
Are husbands confusing housewives with robots or something?
I thought I wasn't interested in other people's divorce stories, but now I'm curious.
What kind of husband was he?
Initially dismissive of another divorce story, the forum's readers were intrigued by the episodes Emily shared about her husband. I was a former banker turned stay-at-home wife, and so was my husband. We actually met through work. It was an office romance at the same branch. Our relationship was officially approved by colleagues, and even our branch manager acted as our matchmaker at the wedding. It was all good until a problem arose. Our bank had a policy that couples couldn't work at the same branch. Seriously?
That's a thing?
Yeah, dealing with money and all, they're concerned about family ties creating issues, so they don't allow relatives to work together. So, parents and children, or any family members, can't work together in the same place. That meant if we got married, one of us would have to transfer to another branch. The transfer isn't based on personal preferences. It's like a roulette wheel of destiny. We could end up living apart shortly after getting married. That's when my husband said,
Well, why don't you quit your job and be a stay-at-home wife?
Honestly, I have some mixed feelings about being a stay-at-home wife. It's a tough decision to give up your job when you're getting married. But I knew we could manage with my husband's salary alone, and more importantly, I didn't want us to be separated right after getting married. So, I decided to become a stay-at-home wife. I was determined. But once I quit my job and became a stay-at-home wife, I found myself with too much free time.
What? There's never enough time for housewives.
Yeah, you never have too much time. Of course, I was doing various household chores. But we had only been married for a year, and we didn't have any kids. Our house was a new 2-bedroom, and it wasn't that big. My husband took care of cleaning his own room, and the bathroom and toilet didn't get that dirty. I had a cleaning routine, deciding to clean different areas each day, which allowed me to even clean the windows every week. I had lived on my own for a long time before marriage, so I was quite good at housework and cooking. I knew all the shortcuts to make things easier. With all that free time, I found myself with nothing to do. Since we moved to the suburbs when we got married, I couldn't see my friends or family as often. Making new friends was difficult because the area was mostly farmland. It was a complete bedroom community, so there wasn't much social interaction. Naturally, I started wanting some money for hobbies. By the way, my hobby is singing karaoke on my own. Not having money for that was tough. Yes, I love singing karaoke on my own. But it was sad that there weren't any karaoke places nearby. Even though there were some a bit far away, the costs could add up. I really wanted some spending money for myself, so I talked to my husband about getting a part-time job. There was an opening at a nearby grocery store for a deli worker, and I thought it would be convenient and help me improve my cooking skills. Initially, my husband was hesitant, but I convinced him by promising to keep up with the housework and saying I wanted to cook better meals for him. At that time, we were the perfect picture of a newlywed, lovey-dovey couple, and I genuinely wanted to expand my cooking repertoire for him. After persuading my husband, I started working part-time at the local grocery store. For the first few months, I enjoyed earning some money for my hobby and felt fulfilled. However, one day, after working overtime, I caught a glimpse of my husband's darker side. I remember it was the day before the graduation ceremony at the local middle school. We were busy preparing party trays, and I ended up working late. Usually, I'd be home in time to make dinner, but that day, I left the store later than usual because we were short-staffed. By the time I got home, my husband was already there. I brought home some extra party trays as an apology for being late and thought we could just have those for dinner. But suddenly, my husband yelled,
I told you not to take that part-time job. How can you be a proper housewife if dinner isn't ready when I get home?
I was completely taken aback. My husband had always been kind and gentle, never raising his voice at me before. I couldn't believe what was happening. He kept ranting and finally said,
This better not happen again, or you'll have to quit that job.
I apologized profusely and somehow managed to calm him down that night. The next day, I was nervous about what he might say, but surprisingly, he was back to his usual gentle self. He apologized, saying,
I'm sorry I yelled. Work has been stressful and I just snapped when dinner wasn't ready.
December is a busy time at the bank with various financial year-end tasks, and I remembered my husband getting emotional during busy periods when we worked together. So, I brushed off his behavior, thinking it was just stress from work. But his outburst has shaken me, and since then, I found myself trying to avoid anything that might upset him. I should have recognized the red flags back then. Fearing his reaction, I became even more meticulous with work. One day, after a few weeks of this, I must have been exhausted. A coworker at the grocery store noticed and said, You look pale. Are you feeling okay? If you're not well, you should tell the boss and go home early. I did feel a bit off that day, so I took their advice and left early. So I got home around midday, feeling a bit tired, and decided to lie down on the couch for a short nap. No sooner had I closed my eyes than my husband woke me up with a shout.
Hey, why are you sleeping?
What? You're home already?
What do you mean already? I got home at my usual time.
I checked the clock, and sure enough, it was the time he usually got home. I must have been more exhausted than I thought and had fallen into a deep sleep. Naturally, I hadn't started dinner. I'm sorry, I was just really tired and fell asleep. Dinner's going to be late, so how about we order takeout?
Are you kidding me?
He shouted so loud that my ears rang. Being woken up like that made it even worse, and my head was pounding.
Are you using your part-time job as an excuse to slack off on housework again? I told you, if this keeps happening, you'll have to quit. And what's this? A nap? While I'm out there working hard, you're sleeping comfortably?
His ranting was all over the place.
A housewife doesn't need more than 3 hours of sleep. From now on, you'll live on 3 hours of sleep. If you sleep more, we're getting a divorce.
It was absurd. Even though I was groggy from being woken up, my mind snapped to attention. It was ridiculous. No one could function on 3 hours of sleep. But looking at my husband, it was clear he was dead serious. His face was red with anger, and he was breathing heavily. I suddenly felt very calm. I realized I couldn't continue living with this man. If I apologized and he forgave me, it would only happen again. He would keep yelling and controlling me. I could see my life becoming miserable, just obeying his every whim. If he wanted a divorce, fine. But I wouldn't just agree quietly. I decided to take my revenge thoroughly. So when he demanded I sleep no more than 3 hours, I agreed. He looked smug, thinking I couldn't manage it. But I was determined. From that day, I lived on 3 hours of sleep. I'd go to bed at 11 p.m. and wake up at 2 a.m. And the first thing I did was start cleaning the house. Yes, cleaning at 2 a.m. What else would a diligent housewife do? I'd open all the windows wide, even in the winter cold, and clean the windows. Then, I'd vacuum, making sure to be thorough. With extra time on my hands, I'd scrub the hallway floors with a cloth, running back and forth until they shone. Even a short hallway deserves a spotless cleaning. As dawn approached, I'd move to the yard and start tidying up there. After that, it was laundry time. I'd gather all the dirty clothes and run the washing machine at full capacity, creating a lot of noise. When the laundry was done, I'd think about cooking, but by then my husband would wake up.
What are you doing up at this hour?
Oh, just housework.
No, it's loud and cold and annoying. Stop it.
But you said to wake up after 3 hours and not slack off on housework.
I didn't mean this.
I said it calmly, and he had no retort, storming back to bed. So began my 3-hour sleep regime. Of course, I couldn't survive on that alone. At work, I told my coworkers about my situation, and they were sympathetic, letting me nap during breaks or leave early to rest in the break room. After a few weeks of this, my husband was the one to break first.
Enough. I need to sleep.
Why don't you just sleep?
I can't sleep with you up, making noise, opening windows, stomping around, and singing weird songs.
Weird songs? That was insulting. I was practicing my karaoke. By the time I left for my part-time job, I'd usually finished all the housework for the day. With the extra time, I practiced singing softly so it wouldn't disturb the neighbors, but apparently it bothered him. And so we argued over my sleep schedule and the noise. In the end, my husband shouted,
If you don't stop, we're getting a divorce.
I couldn't take it anymore and yelled back at him. Make up your mind. First you say you'll divorce me if I sleep, then if I don't sleep. Enough already. My voice was loud, thanks to all that vocal training for karaoke. Seeing him shrink back in fear was almost funny. My husband finally handed me the divorce papers he'd gotten from the county office, and it should have been a done deal. But he put up quite a fight. During our divorce mediation, he claimed,
I've been deprived of sleep for weeks and suffered because of it. I want compensation.
But he was the one who told me not to sleep. I argued this in court, but his demand for only 3 hours of sleep happened at home. And of course, I didn't have any recordings. My lawyer said that if the court believed I had been depriving my husband of sleep, it could be seen as abuse, and I might have to pay him compensation. But that was completely unfair. Thankfully, my colleagues at work, especially the woman who lived nearby, were a big help. My coworkers were aware of my situation because I often talked about how my husband only allowed me 3 hours of sleep. They saw how exhausted I was, sometimes looking like a zombie. One of them, who lived a few houses away from me, decided to check on me after I fainted at work from sleep deprivation. She saw me cleaning the yard early in the morning and even checked again at night, finding me cleaning the windows. Seeing this several times, she realized how serious the situation was and went to the police, who couldn't intervene in civil matters, so nothing happened. But her testimony was crucial in court. She testified that I was the one suffering, not my husband. My husband's claims backfired, and the judge ordered him to pay me compensation and gave me a favorable property settlement. So that's how my divorce mediation finally concluded today. It took longer because my husband kept resisting, but it's finally over. After the trial, rumors spread at his workplace about how he lost the case miserably, and now he's thinking of quitting. As long as he pays the compensation, I don't care. Everything said about him is true anyway. A former coworker told me that after I started my Napoleon schedule, his work performance deteriorated, and he became a liability. Once the divorce trial started, it got even worse, and his colleagues wanted him gone. Serves him right. As for me, I moved back to my parents' house. Leaving my supportive coworkers was bittersweet, but they cheered me on, telling me to give my husband what he deserved. I never thought I'd make new friends after getting married, but I was touched by the connections I made. Now, I'm taking it easy at home. There aren't many karaoke places around, so I'm thinking of job hunting soon. I used to dread change, but now I feel optimistic about meeting new people wherever I go. I'm finally starting to feel sleepy. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm going to get a good night's sleep, not just 3 hours this time. And so, Emily drifts off, free from the control of a manipulative husband, finally able to sleep in peace. Do you have anyone in your life trying to control you like her husband? How do you handle it? Feel free to share in the comments. Thank you for watching.